That was unpopular speech to power. Okay, that was talking to the people that could kill you or oppress you. Wait, what? Hold on, wait, Candy. You are 100% speaking for yourself. You're not speaking for all women. You start giving them specific feedback or direction, you're basically entering a relationship where you kind of got this person employed for you. Also, let me just be clear here. All the people that said that they were too scared to touch it, they are cowards.
We'll do introductions. We'll start with the top left-hand corner. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Destiny. Destiny, say hello.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome aboard. Thank you so much. In the Twitch community, a lot of words are used in replacement of former quote-unquote gamer words, okay? For example, the use of frog instead of the F word or papega instead of the R word. Okay, so do you think? This is for the panel to discuss. Do you think the replacement of these words should be tolerated?
I think if you're choosing new words to try to insult people, maybe we shouldn't target animals. Do you ever think about how the frogs feel, Wes?
Oh my god! I thought you didn't give a fuck about animals.
We do now.
Do you think we should fuck them and stuff?
Today. This topic gets done to death on these shows, but one of the things that never ever comes up is, when did American cultural sensibilities become the default that the rest of the world had to adhere to?
I agree.
That is a much fucking more interesting conversation to have, because, you know, you see people get, you know, for example, there's people who get banned for saying words that are culturally acceptable because of American sensibilities, because of their influence in big tech. And Americans go, oh, this is an outrage, this is ridiculous. Is the American cultural norm the one we should all be defaulting to? I find that a much more interesting discussion.
So the answer to that question is, who do you sell ads to? And if you're in Europe, you still want to sell ads to America.
So you believe that the economic imperative should inform cultural sensibilities worldwide?
Well, no, actually, so a lot of
you asked why. He told you.
A lot of these companies. Okay, people need to realize that defending the right to say something doesn't mean you defend what is being said. It's called unpopular speech actually being the most important speech to protect. And I pine for the days when leftists used to say, I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying, but I'll fight for your right to say it. Where did that go to? My goodness, people.
When they stop being racist.
Real quick,
go ahead, Destiny.
Seriously,
that's
all it is.
That idea of protecting unpopular speech, that just, I'm not saying which side I'm taking here, but like, that wasn't about shitting on minorities. That was unpopular speech to power, okay? That was talking to the people that could kill you or oppress you. That wasn't talking about shitting on black or gay people. That's a horrendous misuse of that protection of that quote. The First Amendment isn't there so that we can shit on gay people. It's there so that you can shit on the government without thinking somebody's going to show up at your door and lock you up.
But it does, unfortunately.
And they've made it blatantly obvious.
I'm just saying that if
the First Amendment doesn't affect those things because there's hate speech laws against such things.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just saying that, like, if you're going to like cite that quote that, like, you know, I protect your right to say whatever, we're not talking about your right to like shit on people that are already fucked in society.
No,
that's
Destiny, no, you're just falling into the exact trap which this is meant to prevent, which is now you're the one deciding which is the unpopular speech that should be protected and what's the unpopular speech that should not be protected.
From who? He's talking about from which it arose.
Would you like to elaborate?
I think anyone should be able to say whatever they want, and their audience.
Oh, based on your content, that doesn't surprise me.
So I think that if you want to say any word you want, you should be able to, and then your audience will fall or grow based on that, with the exception of inciting violence. If you're a piece of shit on Twitch saying all the worst words,
let him finish.
If you're gonna say all the most horrible shit in the world on your Twitch stream, your audience will reflect that. Your audience will either grow or fall. And obviously Twitch should never do that for the sake of their advertisers, and I understand that. But if we're just talking in a just in a random world like this, I think that people should be able to say what they want, and their content will grow or fall based on that. If you want to be a piece of shit and say the N-word and be white on stream, go for it. You're going to get a lot of shit for it. It's your call.
Can I wait? So PayMoney. I just want to follow up.
Destiny, go ahead.
Do that though, but
so PayMoney.
Destiny, go ahead.
Okay. So I think in highly theoretically, I think I agree with you. Like, if you want to say whatever, that's fine. You get the audience you deserve. From Twitch's point of view, though, let's say you started to recruit a great number of people that started getting audiences like this, and then you saw that bleed over. So, for instance, I don't know like what everyone's history here with Twitch is, but when like IRL streaming before the just chatting section, when that stuff was growing, those audiences were largely, and even today to some extent, are still considered the most toxic on Twitch. And a lot of people on Twitch hated that whole section just because of the types of viewers that were bred there, especially back in the days of Ice Poseidon. Do you think that Twitch in this case should step in because there's overflow and damage to other communities when these types of viewers are attracted to the platform? Or do you think they should just let it all
You mean in the world where streamers can say what they want?
Yeah, like let's say we do have that world. Should they be able to, or should Twitch be like, well, hold on, like you're bringing viewers to the whole platform that we don't even want here, and they're going to other communities now. Yeah.
I can tell you right now, if
wait, hold on, let him respond.
Twitch wouldn't do anything.
Let him respond. Go ahead.
In that world, that shouldn't exist anyway, where Twitch would allow anything. That shouldn't be the case. But if it was, I mean, that would be something they would need to consider. I definitely think if there is a streamer who's, uses slurs, and there's a streamer who doesn't, and there's spillover. Yeah, that's kind of fucced up, right? And they should address that. From a moral perspective, I think people should be able to say what they want, and I think.
No, but from a moral perspective, we have to take into account the actual real world situations that we live in. Otherwise,
well, that's not true. That's not true. He's grounding out his like very basic like moral argument, like for against this type of speech, and then it sounds like he.
Then you add more stuff afterwards.
Yeah, then you augment it based on.
Oh,
so like,
I
think I would agree that if you want to go to the stream and you want to say a bunch of crazy like racist whatever shit, like if you theoretically could isolate that from everything else, then I say yeah, fucking go for it. Whatever.
I actually agree because then you cultivate and you keep these people here, and then you prevent them from being anywhere else. They're going to be much more attracted to waste all their time in your racist piece of shit stream than spreading and going anywhere else and ruining the experience of others.
But the problem is that's not how it plays out.
No,
like, if you look at platforms that cater to these groups of people, whether it's Gab or DLive or 4chan, the politics boards, whatever, right? You tend to get like a certain type of people that will definitely bleed over into other parts of these social media sites. I think that like the general position on these types of words is that if you're going to insult somebody, I think as a public figure, you should make sure that whatever aspect you're insulting them for is an intrinsically bad thing. So that
you should always do it in private.
So that shut the fuck up. So that if somebody else hears it, they're not like impacted in a way that you wouldn't want them to be. So for instance, I wouldn't call somebody a gay slur because I might have a gay viewer or listener that might hear it and he's like, oh well shit, I wonder if Destiny.
But what
thinks,
about
like,
the use
I'm a
of
shit
frog?
person,
I'm serious. I'm dead serious.
I think frog is fine. I don't think anyone here has a problem with frog. I don't think anyone here has a problem.
Fuck you, frog.
But
I didn't even know frog was used that way.
But like generally,
friend.
I think generally with most slurs, these are the things we should keep in mind. So whether we're saying like boomer, like should we shit on people for their age? It's probably not a good thing to do. Or meathead, you shit on people because they work out. That's probably not a good thing to do. Like I think that we should be mindful of the way we make fun of people. If you call someone like a Nazi or some shit, everybody that's a Nazi, if they take offense to it, that's fine. Or if somebody's like inconsiderate or whatever. Like I think that's like the general guiding principle for like words you probably should use as a public figure versus words you probably shouldn't use.
You think if we all say the N-word at once, we'd all get banned, or just the first one?
I don't know, Wes. Let's try it. 3,
Okay, 2, 1. I wasn't sure if you were going to do it or not, to be honest.
So Tarzaned was recently banned for 30 days on Twitch. I heard it had something to do with him telling like somebody to like that he shouldn't have been born or something, and that's why people were drawing.
No, that was
like
Alabro.
I know Alabro said that, but I thought
we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Basically,
but hold on.
Off on a guy. I
apparently,
think
what he said
everything
was,
you've said.
Your
He definitely
birth
said
was
somebody shouldn't have
unfortunate,
been
and your
born.
mother was a whore.
That's it. That's what he said. Hold on. There's some interesting context here that we shouldn't leave out. Is the fact that Tarzan was being harassed by this guy for months prior to him kind of reaching his breaking point. Does that have any relevance?
Wait, the guy has been inting
because it's
Tarzan
like they only ban.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, never mind. I think he should have used real life threats against him. I think it'd be justified. Fuck that.
I don't think boomer has the even or close to the same effect as the F or the N word does.
Exactly. That's all that matters here.
Dude,
There's this huge discourse between two different generations, and because the younger generation makes pokes at the older one, and the older
I've
one
never
always
met an
rejects the
older
younger
person in
generation.
real life that is actually seriously offended by boomer. I haven't. But if I say the M word in front of any black person, they will always be upset with me.
This is not. Stop using this argument, Rem. You're smarter than this, okay? The reason why it took me so long to not say the F word is because all of my gay friends growing up encouraged straight people to say it. You can't say I've never met a person that's not offended by an age joke. I've got two parents
Destiny,
that
do
I know.
you truly believe
Let
that
him finish,
saying boomer
Rem.
has a larger? But I know exactly what he's saying because we've had this kind of discussion before.
I'm just listen. No. If you want to appeal to another argument, say, do you seriously think blah 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 blah? I'll probably agree with those, but don't mix in shit. Like this is like fuck.
But it's completely. Wait, let's have a discussion on this then.
No, we can have a discussion. But don't say. But don't, I'm just saying. Okay, as a philosophy 9-brain student, you should never utter the words "I've never met anyone that's not offended by X" because everybody in here.
But from this, you should recognize that we can know as a society just generally infer whether a word is going to have a way worse effect.
Have you ever played a Sega game where a boss has a giant blinking shining fucking button and that's the spot where you attack it to kill it? That's what you do to yourself when you tag on those shit ass arguments.
Okay, so you have an issue with me talking a bit like an anecdote. Okay,
No,
then fine. I retract the anecdote.
I'm just saying
Is that
a lot
your
of the
biggest
times,
fucking issue?
I think there are really good arguments. I think there are really good arguments for why we shouldn't say certain words publicly.
Okay, I retract the anecdote and I just say, well, clearly boomer doesn't have as big of an effect as the F word or N word. There,
Okay,
you
but
have.
now how do you measure that? How do you know that?
Exactly.
How do you know that,
no,
Rem?
hold on.
So you're right.
You're
You're right. So
frustrated
we
right
should
now.
just. So you do understand that as human beings, we're able to interact with the world and get a general gist about whether words have a certain effect or
No,
whether
we're
they
not
do not.
able to do that. We're actually
Oh my God.
specifically. Why are you oh my godding me?
Because that's
argument you're giving is
ridiculous.
used to justify every instance of misogyny, every instance of racism. Our ability to interact with the world and get a clear view of what's actually happening is impossible as a human.
You don't understand.
No, I do understand, Rem, because I spent all my time fucking debating about this shit. This is why we appeal to volumes of scientific data instead of asking somebody, "How do you feel about the world?" This is the
So
same
how do you
argument
justify not saying the N word?
Well, for me, my system that I used earlier is that if you use a word that insults a trait that's not intrinsically bad, you probably shouldn't
So
say it
you
because
shouldn't
it's
say
collateral
boomer
damage.
as well. Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think you should insult somebody intrinsically based on their age. It's probably not a good idea.
So any insult that could potentially ever affect anyone, you should not say. Is that what you're
if
saying?
it's impacting a quality that you don't want to insult, then yes. Can you give me an example that would be contrary to
okay.
that
Well,
system?
honestly, yes, I agree with that, but I recognize that most people are not going to agree with that fundamentally.
Okay, if they're not going to agree with that, then they're sure as fuck not going to agree with your. Well, you know,
But the
I've
issue
never met
with the
somebody
way
that's
that you've
okay with
painted
me
this
saying
is it's either everything goes or nothing goes.
No, it's not everything or nothing. I just don't think you should listen, if somebody wants to posit an example, hey, here's an example of a word, Destiny, that I think fails your criterion, then we can do that. But I haven't ever heard it before. Just don't make fun of people for shit that you don't want to think.
What about when you call people dumb?
It's still subjective. It's still
I
subjective.
think that dumb is okay because typically when we talk about people being dumb or stupid, we're applying a level of agency there. You've made a dumb mistake. You've made a stupid action. It's different than calling somebody like retarded, where we say, well, that's outside of your control. That intrinsically, whatever
But then you have to look at the actual history of these words and what those actually imply. But how are you going to say that this word has a certain? Because you're going to say, oh no, actually. But how do you know that it has an effect on, or how do you know that it's attacking something that's controllable if you can't infer that from the general population? How do you know that word has certain meaning? Oh, I don't know. We have to infer as a society what these words mean, just in the same way that we can infer from the usage of the N word that's going to have a very negative effect on a ton of people. It's the same type of reasoning.
But the inferences that we draw around words like dumb or stupid are things that we can make appeals to say like pop culture on, or we can make appeals to like
we
what
do
is
the exact same with the N word, Destiny.
No, that's not what you said though. You were saying things like, oh, well, I know a friend that believes this.
I literally said we can retract the anecdote, and we can retract the anecdote and say just as a society we're able to infer that the N word is going to have a bigger effect than it's the exact same argument, Destiny.
Do you agree that using things like okay boomer is probably not good if we adhere to any type of
Absolutely, and I've said that publicly.
Okay, cool. All right, then we agree.
Wow. Okay.
Just don't say.
I agreed. I literally, the first thing I said was I agree. I retract the anecdote.
Wait, to me, the reason why I'm okay with using boomer but not the F or the N word is because the history of these groups of people. I don't think of old people and think of all the horrible shit that has happened to them because they are 35 plus, right? It's indisputable that black people and gay people have had incredibly harder histories and dealt with shit that old people don't have to deal with on a daily basis. Because people don't inherently view black people or old people the same
What if
as
you're
they
black
do
and old or gay and old?
People, first of all,
Go ahead, Destiny.
Wait. First of all, the highest group of suicidal people in the United States is not teenagers, okay? It's not people in poor communities. It's actually old white people.
Oh, Destiny, don't make this argument, though.
Don't make one argument.
Let him finish, Rem.
If you look at the
Let
historical
him finish,
context of this.
Rem, let him finish.
The historical context. There are a lot of old people that have a lot of problems with aging. There's a lot of shit that goes along with that. So when you make fun of somebody literally for being a boomer, being old, yeah, that could be fair grounds for saying like, oh, well, we shouldn't criticize this. Now maybe it doesn't seem like it because there aren't old people on the internet, right? But like, yeah, I mean, I could definitely see like, personally, I don't give a fuck about anything, but I could see people being bothered by the way that Biden is described a lot. For instance, my mom has Alzheimer's. A lot of people say things like Biden is sundowning, or wow, Biden's memory sure is fucking out. I could see old people being bothered by that. Like, well, holy shit, what the fuck? Or people who have family members that are affected by that.
So there is a Victoria's Secret has said publicly, they said that they will not have plus-size models on their fashion show because, quote, it is not what people want to watch.
I think obesity is not attractive. I think anyone who finds obesity as sexually attractive is mentally skewed because it's finding sexual attractive something that is innately unhealthy for that human being.
But do you know what?
Go ahead, Destiny.
What we found attractive has absolutely changed in society, right? Like we can go and look at like fucking pictures and like paintings and sculptures.
We shouldn't get into this though.
Like, it's obviously like changed. Well, no, I'm just saying like the idea that we're biologically attracted to a certain type. That's obviously right.
I was gonna say that too.
As the GamezNGainz said, right? Like, so I'm 30. I remember that when I was growing up, we were just coming off the cusp of like Pamela Anderson was like the look, and that was like the hot, like the huge fucking lips, the huge fucking boobs, and then like sometime in like my late teens, or whatever, we went to like the girl next door look, and then like you see that like the things are changing now. The idea that we're biologically hardwired to be attracted towards one type of thing is probably not true. I don't think that's.
But
true.
do you think, Destiny, that we move ever so slightly on a spectrum, but we don't necessarily move to the extremes? Like, are we?
No, actually, hold on.
Well, yeah, we probably won't move to like any like extreme, but like if you look at some of the paintings, some of those Greek people, we would call these guys are like past thick. Okay. Like,
oh yeah, exactly, because the perception was that having this larger body indicates sort of wealth.
Well,
like look, Louis the 14th was considered super fucking hot, but let's be real, he was a big boy. Okay.
Or like, let's look at the fetishization of white people in like Asian cultures. Having fairer or more pale skin is seen as very, very attractive. But in a lot of the Western world, being more tan is seen as more attractive. So I mean, like these things are pretty malleable.
Yeah.
Whether we should.
So how does that connect? But like.
Yeah.
But like, how does this? This is a serious question here. How does that like make me horny? You know what I'm talking about? Like how does that like get into like? How does that get into my mind and I see something and then I just like that?
Your
you know
sex drive is a combination of like some innate biological things that are hardcore shaped by your early environments, and it's in terms of like how is this all determined is very complicated. Like no one knows the answer to that. Like where is all of your sexual development coming from?
Can I give boys a good tip? So if you have a little weak penis, then you should have pubic hair because it looks a little bit more manly. Just a tip.
No, I disagree here because actually having pubic hair makes it look less wrong.
Nobody cares about how long it is. People like we care about like if it looks manly or like.
Wait, what? Hold on, wait, Candy, you are 100% speaking for yourself. You're not speaking for all women.
Is this like? Is there like a known group of people that suffer from like issues due to their small penis?
Well, this is literally every man ever, Raj. What are you talking about?
This is what I'm saying.
Whoa.
I suffer with it on a daily basis.
Literally, men in general have like huge, like fucking penis anxiety. Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you never heard of penis envy?
4.5 inches too much.
No, 4.5 I feel like standard.
I feel like 4.55 inches. That's not asking a lot. I'm just saying, like maybe.
What do you mean asking a lot?
You should.
You can't change the way that they
fucking
walk.
I'm so sorry.
There's nothing wrong.
I don't feel good about it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Destiny.
Okay, but
There's nothing wrong.
Don't
with
air it
Kaceytron.
publicly on a fucking show with like
Hold on, 1 second. Destiny, go ahead.
What's wrong with Kaceytron saying she has like a preference for like a certain way that like people look? When you ask anybody about what does X group of people, men or women, prefer, all of them are too stupid to realize all they're telling you is what they prefer. If you want to figure out like what people like, you have to ask your fucking partner. Okay?
Well, Destiny, that's what I fucking asked, is it, you shitbag?
Well, sure, yeah, but like everybody in here is talking. Everybody in here is talking about how like, oh, well, this is what women prefer. This is what men prefer. It's absolute fucking bullshit. You have to ask your fucking partner. Some people like big dicks. Some people like small dicks. Some people like long dicks. Some people like short dicks. Like it just depends.
Is this a Dr. Seuss book?
1 dick, 2 dick, 3 dick, 4 dick.
Some of the things that have been said here, like the idea that like every vagina is like the same on the inside, that is absolutely not true. Holy shit, there are some.
How do they differ?
Some of them you fuck them and like you, I don't know, you just don't feel much. Some of them are really tight on the outside, so they like fucking choke hold your dick when you're going up and down. Some of them feel like really good on the inside. They push a lot against you. They make you come fast. Some of them are like you don't really feel much at all.
I will tell you this.
Some of them get really fucking wet and you can't feel much when you fuck them. Some of them are pretty dry. You gotta lube them up. There's a ton of differences from vaginas.
Wow.
And also, I will tell you, buttholes feel differently too.
By Stephen Bennell.
Wait,
There you
Write a
go.
fucking book. Holy shit.
Wow. That's
Everybody's
really
different.
interesting.
Everybody's different. So you just ask them, hey, what are you into? And then you figure it out together. And
I'm
that's
just
the whole
always
process
wondered
of
how
having
my
sex.
vagina differed to others.
Well, you know what, Kaceytron, if you scream by California.
Thank you.
No problem, buddy.
Please do not go on a first date like, what do you like? No, don't. If that's the advice you're trying to give to the chat, please don't do that, chat. Like, later on in the relationship, maybe, but at first don't be like, oh, is it okay?
Okay,
Are
Boomer.
you just gonna fucking choke out someone on the first date without
Non-virgin advice
asking?
coming through. If you have a sex walkthrough that you use for like the first person, like there's general things you can do, but you absolutely with new partners have to be communicative.
Hey, GamezNGainz. Have you? What's that video game? You know, like the seductive artist
hold
game.
on. Let Destiny finish up his point.
Well, no, I was done. But the idea that you wouldn't communicate with like a new partner, that's insane. Those are the most important people to talk to because you have no idea what they like without figuring it out.
if you're hooking up with somebody maybe more consistently, I would absolutely agree with you. But if you're telling me that if I'm taking home somebody from the club, then I'll be like, oh, do you like this or do you like that? Fuck that.
Yeah,
no.
you should.
I mean, if your goal is to just fucking dump a load in their pussy and then moonwalk the fuck out, that's fine. I like that. But that's just the kind of thing that I'm into. I like to know that the person that I'm really enjoying themselves. But like,
sweetheart destiny.
Here's the bottom line: if you cannot tell what she likes without verbal communication, you are bad at it. Period.
That's not true.
What is wrong with you? Are you actually an incel or something?
No, shut the fuck up. You cannot tell because the type of signals that a person gives can be very confusing. So, for instance, for a lot of women, pain and pleasure look very fucking similar, okay? You can be finger blasting a chick that's being like, oh, and it's like, I don't know if that means it feels good or if it's fucking hurting. You can't just tell by doing some fucking mind telepathy.
Well, trust me, I don't know women you've been with, but I can tell when they're enjoying it.
Good one.
You wouldn't fucking know because you never fucking talked to them about it, so you have no idea.
So, Destiny, you're going to be providing the choice here on who to eliminate. Is between Kaceytron and Garrett.
Kaceytron, bye. Get her out.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That wasn't even close.
That's not fair.
That wasn't even close.
Fair.
So boring. Oh my god, I'm so over that.
That's not even
There's a random stupid. So does anybody think drugs are better when you shove them up your asshole?
I don't think like that, Destiny. You're just making false accusations. Please stop trying to use.
Anybody here get high sometimes?
I don't even do that. Like, you're mocking me, and I don't even do that. I'm like the most underappreciated guest that ever comes on this show. You guys are welcome for pushing all of the sex topics. You guys are welcome. I'm the most underappreciated guest on this show, and I'm not going to be coming on for a while.
The same joke I've done a million times.
Kaceytron.
Every time I do it because I'm getting higher and higher.
There was obviously some drama surrounding an individual. I don't really want to go into that because I feel like it's been beaten to a pulp. I think what we could talk about here is there's a lot of people out there that that you know, editors and all sorts of people, guests on shows maybe. My question is it ever okay to pay people in exposure? In some sort of exposure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody disagree with this? First thing.
Yeah.
I don't.
Why not?
Okay. So
Okay.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay,
but
let's
talk
talk
about this
I
specific
think-
Hold on.
situation, or are we
Let's go.
going
Oh,
Yeah,
in
let's do. We got the
We're
general.
all
He's gonna
here,
make it more
so-
specific. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead, Destiny. You start.
Oh wait, what was? Are we talking about the?
No,
I mean,
yeah, I'm
I'll
asking,
say
are we talking in
atheist thing?
We're talking in
generalities, or are we
general.
talking about the
I
specific
think
situation?
we're talking
not
more
allowed to
general
say?
here.
But yeah, so more generally, nobody here disagrees with that it's okay to be paid in exposure sometimes, right? No one disagrees with that, do they?
Yeah, no, of
sure.
course.
Yeah, unless
as long
they're
as the other person
commie.
agrees to it.
When would there be a specific example? Oh shit.
The reason why people make fun of the paid in exposure meme is because most of the people that are offering to pay you in exposure are fucking WH Omega lols who can't give you any fucking exposure at all.
And it's like people who want you
what
to
did you
work
just
for
say?
them. It's not for Twitch
Yeah.
streams usually. It's like, oh, we want you to do a graphic design for us. We'll pay you in massive exposure. That's where the whole meme comes from.
If some like fucking 2-viewer Andy was like, yo, can you come like play piano in my stream and like people will see you and it'll be good for you, I'd be like, what the fuck? No, pay me. If fucking Justin Bieber wanted me to like play at one of his concerts, I would do that for fucking free, of course, right? Like, and like there's like a million different cardboard things. Of course, like exposure can be good sometimes.
This is a non-topic. If you agree to it, you
I
agree to
disagree
it.
though.
Like,
I disagree with that, Destiny, because like, so the issue is that like with someone like this is where it's going to be like a case by case basis because Justin Bieber has so much money that I feel
I'm
like
just saying from a personal basis, I would do it.
right.
I know
But
he
I
should
think
probably
in
pay because
general-
he's making money off of it, but like fuck, like I would do that for exposure. That's
right.
absolutely
So
worth
yeah,
it.
I personally would also do it, but I think it would be even better because he has so many resources that he should then in turn pay.
Yeah,
But, like,
I would say he should. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
but we're
but-
asking if it's ever like acceptable to get paid in exposure.
It's shitty to say that, like, oh, you'll get exposure from it. I mean, I think it works a lot better if you just ask people. You'd be surprised what people agree to on this website.
But like
look
for
at-
example,
wait,
for
look at everybody
example-
on this fucking show right now. Like,
Yeah, I
we're
mean,
all
first
here
of all,
working
right,
for Raj.
there is a power differential with a lot of big streamers, which is why I think this specific case that we're not talking about for some reason is an important one. Because when you're a very influential person and you come along and you say, hey, I'll pay you in exposure, you might be more inclined to agree to something that actually you don't really want just to be within that person's orbit because of how you view them from a power differential. And I think it's very...
True.
You've got to be very careful not to sort of take advantage of people that just want to be around you because they look up to you so much.
Yeah, especially if they're
catering
saying
to people,
things
like, they
specifically
make an
like.
adult. That's so stupid. You're basically saying that people can't make their own decisions. Like if somebody agrees to it, they agree to it.
There are some very specific cases where your ability to like consent to something is heavily compromised.
Yeah.
Like such that we actually can't determine if somebody's truly consenting. So for instance, let's say that a professor, a test is coming up and a professor asks me out on a date. I don't know if I can say no to him without it impacting my scores. So like just the offer there is like not good. Like it is entirely possible that I really do want to go on a date with a professor and that he is into me. And it's also possible that maybe he wouldn't punish me if I said no. But it's impossible for like any individual person in that scenario to determine that. So we would say that offer in and of itself is like intrinsically immoral.
What I've heard about America and Hollywood when I was young is that, you know, some people get like pressured into doing things to, for example, get a role in a movie and stuff like that. So that's kind of the same thing as what we're talking about right now. Like some producer, like, you know, #MeToo and stuff like that.
Harvey Weinstein,
Yeah, and the problem is it would be immoral to even accept it because you don't know if that person's ability to say yes or no is compromised.
It's got an extra layer to it because the idea it's coming from somebody that advocates for sort of, you know, the Communist Manifesto as a good way to live our lives. And
we don't even need to go for that, okay?
That's fucking hilarious. But that is funny.
That is hilarious, okay? But that is...
how are you resisting the urge to talk about that?
Well, because it's not relevant. Because this is actually bad in and of itself, okay? If somebody approaches you, they say they want a job, okay? And they say like, hey, like I want a job, I'm going to start editing videos for you. There's two big things here. One, if you start uploading content that they're doing for you onto your own channel, one, and then two, you start giving them specific feedback or direction, saying like, oh, I prefer these types of edits, or like, hey, you should edit this video or that. You're basically entering a relationship where you've kind of got this person employed for you. I know that H, we'll just say H, so no one knows what we're talking about, has used the cop-out. They're like, oh, well, I don't make enough money for my YouTube. Of course not, because your YouTube is a loss leader for you right now. You make $250,000 a year on Twitch. You've got money to pay for the fucking YouTube channel, okay? Right? So like, that's not an argument either. For when I ran my YouTube channel at the beginning, I paid the dude a flat $1,000 a month, and I made $12 a month on it for like several months until it picked up. And with Hasan's YouTube channel, it would go the exact same way.
Let's remove,
H, my bad.
Look, I don't think we need to.
Mr. H. Good save, Steve.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mr. H.
Look, man,
I would actually rather.
I do think though it is I think that if you're coming to do work for somebody or whatever, I think it is your responsibility as somebody who is seeking work to establish the foundation for which you want to be compensated prior to doing that work. I think that
it's also the responsibility of a girl not to drink too much when she's out with a guy, so she doesn't.
Okay, come on,
right? No, listen. This is really important. Wait, stop. Hold on, let me finish this.
Oh no, be right there. Oh god, I fell into the trap.
Let me finish this fucking point. Just because one side made a mistake does not absolve the other side of any wrongdoing, okay? So somebody can go out, okay? If I leave my car door unlocked...
What do you mean? What are you saying? What are you saying my name for?
Oh my god. If I leave my car door unlocked, okay, that is a mistake that I'm making. If somebody steals from my car, you cannot absolve them of their sin by going, well, did you leave your door unlocked? Much the same way that we could say, if you approach somebody, you probably shouldn't do work for free. That's real fucking stupid, of course. But that's not what the question is. The question is it unethical or immoral to abuse somebody that's coming up to you and offering to do work for free? Just because they're a dumb fuck doesn't mean you can take advantage of their stupidity and not expect to like get a little bit of blame for it. Okay?
I would agree. Okay, to an extent,
I disagree with that.
Does anybody disagree with that?
No.
Like anybody disagrees with that.
Very neutral.
Okay, so
I disagree. So can we talk about the specific instance? Because I mean, the biggest issue that I have with the editor is the reaction with which they did it instead of going privately to Mr. H.
He messaged Hasan and Hasan didn't respond. What are you talking about? For like
wait, where?
Okay.
It was at the end of the DMs. Raj, it's on fucking LSF. We can bring up the fucking name. Stop being such a fucking pussy. What the fuck is wrong with you, Raj?
Wait, what message? I only saw the Discord message.
The Discord message, at the bottom of the message, he said, hey, are you still looking for an editor? That was like the last thing that he typed to him, and the guy hadn't responded to him for like 2 months before that. So the guy like made an effort to talk to him.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, let's move on because I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about it.
I don't know.
I don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk about the specific example. Okay, we were talking.
That's the only reason we're talking about this.
I know we were talking. We were talking. The fact of the matter is, hold on. Let me establish this. Okay, he does pay his editors. Okay,
Not relevant.
Why is that irrelevant?
Because we're talking about this specific case of abuse. It's possible, for instance,
the
that I could
apology, the apology has been issued. Okay, the apology has been issued. All right,
Can we
and
talk about it?
that doesn't have anything to do with whether the initial act was wrong. You can do bad things and then apologize for them. We're asking if the thing was bad.
How was it? What was bad about it, Destiny?
The bad thing is that if somebody comes up to me like, hey, Destiny, here are some videos, like, I know you're looking for a full-time editor, and I'm like, oh, yeah, and I start giving direction to this guy, like, hey, could you edit this or that, and I start uploading this shit to my channels for free and to my Instagram.
Okay, all right, I'm done.
Okay.
You cannot have a blanket rule that people you have a relationship with can't be discussed on this show. Not when it's something as big as that. Public figures get to be discussed. That's unfortunately the price you pay once you put yourself in the public eye.
Okay, here's like the blanket. We don't have to talk about this specifically. Here's the blanket thing I would say. If you're making over $100,000 doing shit online, you probably shouldn't have people like editing videos and stuff, doing like your main content for free. That's probably a pretty shitty thing to do. You've got plenty of money. Fucking spread it around. There you go.
Same thing like your mods, for example. Like, I don't pay my mods, but I don't expect them to do anything. If they don't want to be there, they don't have to.
Okay.
When it comes to mods, you can make an argument for them. It really depends on the type of like expectations you set, right? So like if you just like mod people like, hey, like watch a chat if you can or whatever, then that's it. That's fine. But if you're like, hey, I stream from like 12 to 6, you need to be here at these hours. These are the types of things I expect. Blah 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 blah. I mean, at that point, like you're probably like if you're making like a fuck ton of money, yeah, you should probably pay him.
I wish Mike stayed on longer.
Yeah,
it's weird
Mike.
he went out because it was the first time he wasn't talking.
Mike was such a
The problem with Mike is that Mike doesn't actually understand most of the progressive or lefty arguments. He makes really shit arguments. And when there are people like, no offense, GamezNGainz, I love you, but making gamer bro arguments here about like language or politics or shit, like I would prefer to like have somebody that can speak to the topics rather than Mike saying a whole bunch of irrelevant, stupid, fucky shit.
He just pivots over and over and over and over and over and
It's
over.
not that he pivots. He legitimately doesn't understand like what is like structural racism or like he doesn't know like any of these things.
You were recently banned for live streaming in a restaurant that you had permission to stream from. After the fact, you made a video, a very popular video on YouTube, kind of calling out Twitch. And the question that I want to bring from that, in that video, you pulled a lot of opinions from other streamers, correct?
Correct.
And statements and such. And you kind of called out a bunch of other streamers, kind of asking them, hey, like, you know, if you're not going to participate in this, essentially, in your words, you called them kind of like cowards, right? For people that didn't respond to your request for comment.
Correct. I mean, I said it to get a reaction, and I got a reaction. I got what I wanted. I got bigger streamers, more relevant streamers reaching out and giving a comment on it. And keep in mind, I wasn't looking for a bashing of Twitch. I mean, the exact DM, I don't want to read DMs, but almost word for word is like, hey, do you want to give any opinion on Twitch? I'm looking for anything that I can quote. And the people straight up denied it, saying, I'm too scared to touch it.
Also, let me just be clear here. All the people that said that they were too scared to touch it, they are cowards. No one is going to fucking lose your fucking bounties for coming out.
That's what I was going to say. The question that I had to follow with was, does showing solidarity with banned streamers put your channel at risk, or showing solidarity?
Hold on.
Well,
one of two things happen.
Just
They're
before
either
we get into that, though,
they either
Wes,
don't
just jump in for a second. I think it's very tough because on the one hand, I agree with Stephen. I think it is cowardly to a certain degree if you ever sort of put practicalities before principles, but then again, the reality is every streamer situation is different.
If we were talking, if there was a real chance that you could get like in big trouble for it, I would be more sympathetic. Of course, I'm sympathetic.
We've never seen it on the.
But I think what the thought process here is, Stephen, is that is increasingly. Again, I'm not saying I agree with this, but I think what people believe is that is increasingly becoming likely on Twitch because
these are all people who like constantly skirt the line of what's allowed or not allowed on Twitch.
Absolutely agree with you, brother.
These are not people who are so scared of Twitch moderation because they would conduct their channels. Yeah, they would conduct their channels and. I know. I'm just saying that we can infer like what their actual beliefs are based on how they act. Like if you were to reach out to somebody like fucking like Cone Carnage or like Dan's Gaming, these are guys I don't watch their streams. These guys play pretty safe most of the time, right?
Yeah, sure.
And they were to be like, okay, well, yeah, you know, I don't want to comment because you know I don't typically get involved with stuff like this. Yeah, that's fine.
What
but
about
if you're reaching out to people like the LSF crew, like Mizkif or whatever, and he's like, oh no, like I'm super good on Twitch's side, like I don't want to do anything.
Yeah, but what about inducements? Okay. So here's an example of why people might not want to say anything, and that's because, you know, we would only a certain amount of people have access to the bounty program. Only a certain amount of people are going to be given access to Twitch viewing when that gets rolled out. if you say a lot of things publicly that are anti-Twitch, there is a possibility that your stream might not get those advantages and benefits. You're under no risk of being banned, but you will not get the benefits of having a pro-Twitch outlook. And when you confront them about it, they'll just be able to say, we don't think your brand's safe, or actually, we're only giving it to a limited amount of people. You know how companies work, and you can very quickly find yourself on the outside if you're very critical.
But I think you can
every games developer ever operates that way.
Yeah, I think you can give like a pretty safe statement regarding this that like wouldn't lead to like this kind of like backlash from Twitch. Like there's like ways that you could address this that like you don't have to go on and make like a literal like, okay, fuck Twitch completely. This is the worst Nazi company in the world. Like you don't have to go out like that hard.
Sure. Would any of you, if you were to have reached out for comment by PaymoneyWubby, would you have commented on the TOS of Twitch?
100%.
Yes.
I love talking shit on Twitch. I don't have bounties anyway, so fuck them.
What they're telling people on the way out is make sure you are, and this is, and I've had this from many of the top streamers that have left for Mixer and other platforms. They're being told, make sure you are making the right decision, because when you come back, we may not even repartner you. They are saying that to people on the way out the door. That is undeniable. You have that from me as a journalist, from the sources that I've talked to. So the idea that they're happy with this happening and they're going to welcome back people later, Twitch used to do that 2 years ago. They don't do that now. They are a different company.
If that was true, my guess is people might be telling you that.
I'm telling you, brother, on my fucking
unless you haven't
reputation.
seen the actual emails, I wouldn't believe that. My guess is what Twitch is probably saying is they're asking a question along the lines of like, will I get partnered if I come back? And Twitch has probably said there's no guarantee. I would be shocked if Twitch said you're not getting partnered when you come back if you go to another platform.
They are telling people, make sure this is the right move for you, because when you come back...
That's a loss prevention.
Wait. What were you going to say exactly? Because that's really important. Because when you come back,
he said they might not come back.
Well, okay, so if I'm getting this from a source, okay, obviously they're going to frame it with perhaps some hyperbole, but I can only take them at face value because you have to trust your sources. So what I'm saying is they're framing it that if you leave, and you decide to go to another platform, make sure it is the right deal for you. And this is multiple people saying independently of each other, because when you come back, we will not be partnering you again.
Okay. Let's see here. I've got another topic here on my list of topics.
Are you sure? You still have a list? You're not
yes,
running out
we
yet?
do have a very long and drawn out list of topics.
Okay. Let me know if you run out, because I got some good ones. I got some real good ones.
So many topics.
Wait, maybe we should take a vote on this one, because I might have a good topic.
Raj,
maybe Steven's got a good
topic.
topic.
Oh no. Hold on. Let's see here. There's a topic that I must find. I've been waiting to get to it this entire time. And hold on. Oh yes, here we go. Advocates of drug legalization believe that making high-quality drugs cheaply and widely available will eliminate the illegal drug market, regulate quality and price, and decrease law enforcement costs, including arrest and incarceration. Do you believe that all drugs should be legalized?
The issue, once it becomes legal, then everything's too easy to get, and like people start using it rampantly. You can walk in fucking gas stations; they have meth there. Someone made a point about that; it was harked in, and I mean it's a really good point. But decriminalization is just the sense that if you're having it and using it, we're not going to put you in jail. But if you're a scumbag drug dealer,
I think
putting
if you've ever
people
been
in
to
these
Portugal,
situations when they,
I think if you've ever been to Portugal, you would know that certainly in that country, the difference between decriminalization and legalization is essentially negligible.
Exactly.
It's semantic almost, but fine.
Exactly.
Aren't the drug dealers
that's why I said that, Wes. It's like you just pick one. Like if you don't want.
Aren't drug dealers persecuted and still like put in prison for dealing drugs?
Okay, but like how stupid
we're not
is
talking
it
about
that
drug
drugs are
dealers.
legal to take, but like you have to like ban the people selling them? That's dumb as fuck. If we're gonna legalize
Exactly.
something, this decriminalize shit is like some bullshit like half zone.
Really?
Yeah, what
I
the
feel
fuck?
like the widespread availability to the drugs that comes with legalization is where the problem lies for legalizing, versus that's not a thing, because decriminalizing doesn't open it up and doesn't allow people to run into the streets or put it in stores. It's still illegal to sell. It's just not illegal to consume.
One of the big benefits of legalizing drugs is that you take away money from people that shouldn't be selling the drugs, and you can tax it. If you still have it federally illegal, you miss both of those benefits. What the fuck is the point? Like,
The human experience? What? Like
the human
these
experience
people live
though,
a much healthier life and they're not fucked.
But it
and
seems to be the case.
stigmatized?
It seems to be the case that when you legalize things like heroin, fucking Grandma Jane and Uncle Joe don't run down to the fucking store and start shooting up fucking heroin.
Based
like,
on what? Like you
based
fucking
on
know like it's been
Portugal.
done.
Based on
Portugal is
based
not
on-
that.
based on
You can't
countries
walk into any
that
fucking
take
drugstore and
this
buy
policy.
heroin in Portugal.
Wes, do you
That's your
believe
opinion.
that they should be able to do that in their own home?
Do what?
Whatever they want.
Yes. You can't tell a human what they can and can't do inside their own home as long as it's not a victim. There's no victim.
Isn't
Then
that
you
a little
can't-
hypocritical?
then you're going to
Isn't that
argue that the
hypocritical?
person is the victim. Bullshit.
No, but then again,
That's
it's
your choice.
hypocritical. And Destiny kind of said the same thing. It's hypocritical to say that because you literally just told me a few arguments ago that people can't make a choice based off of being a mod in a server or a channel, and yet they can't make a choice about being, going out on a date with their instructor, but yet they're able to make a choice about a drug that can kill you. Like it's
What?
hypocrisy. Like if you're going to be able to make
Those
a
are
choice, you can make a choice
so
across the board.
farly
So the
different
difference is that
things.
in one case,
No,
the drug,
it comes
the
down
drug,
to making a choice.
No. In
comes
one
down to making
case,
a choice.
in one case, a person has power over you that compromises your ability to make a choice, and the second choice is just you that's involved in whether.
Yes.
Now, if we wanted to talk about like,
still
should
have
somebody
that
go to
choice,
a
though.
no, but saying that we have a choice is a very
choice.
naive way of
You're not
analyzing like
understanding
choice
the
in like a human
effects on that
situation,
choice, how
right?
they're
Like,
influenced. Which,
yeah,
like,
like we
in
can't
that
just say
argument-
somebody has a choice because choices are like very complicated things. Like we don't weigh all choices equally, right? Like for instance, like we would say like children don't really have the ability to choose. That's why we like gate a lot of like interactions. For instance, children can't sign contracts, right? Even though they could choose, we would say, well, their ability to choose is kind of compromised because they're fucking kids, right?
Yes.
They
Just
If
do
you're
them.
telling me, but again, you're telling me the reality of the situation is anybody who's going to experience those drugs is not going to do it by themselves. Most likely, they're going to have outside influence. So it's the same fucking argument to me.
No, did
It's
not say
hypocritical
that.
to
Did not
it's
say
hypocritical to say you can
Wes.
choose in this situation, but you can't choose in this situation.
I said if
Like,
you're in an
But the
environment
situations are
where there are
different.
multiple types of drugs,
it's the same basic principle. If you're an adult, you're also over 18 years old, you should be able to make a choice in life. Sometimes you're going to have a hard decision. Maybe you don't want to go out with your professor. Maybe you don't want to do that fucking drug. It all comes down to choice. All right. If people
Okay,
have
well, like here's the
choice-
question.
Such a
Let's say
stupid
I hold.
fucking
Let's say that I'm offering to
It's just-
sell you it. Let's say I'm offering to sell you a TV. Okay, and I say, hey, do you want to buy my TV? And let's say that I'm holding a gun to your head while you do it. Now I haven't said I'm going to kill you, but let's say that's the same. Would we say that that person there has a choice with whether or not they want to buy the TV, or would we say, well, hold on, external factors. He kind of has a choice, but also kind of not.
an extreme example. Like
It is an extreme example, but we can use that example to establish, because then we can run this back to a lot of other things. You have a choice, by the way, not to work. You don't have to work at all. You could be homeless, you could be hungry, you could whatever, but you kind of have that choice, but not really. I'm just using these examples to illustrate the idea that like we have quote unquote choices, but kind of sort of not really. Like if we have like highly preferable paths down some route and very unpreferable ones on the other, like our ability to like make these choices, also these are gated by risk as well. Some choices are very risky, we're less likely to make them, or if we think that there might be really bad outcomes related to some choice, not to the choice itself, but maybe to some third party that doesn't like us making that choice. All of these things like weigh onto us when we talk about choices. So this idea that you keep saying like, well, any adult can make a choice, not really. I mean, there's a reason why rich people don't go to like payday advances places, right? Only poor people do this. And they're not even good financial decisions, but they're in a really compromised place when they make these choices. That's all I'm saying. Not all choices are equal.
You're telling me that an adult can't make a choice, then what are you even trying
We're
to say?
not saying
about
adult
society?
can't make a choice.
No,
What we're saying is
that's
you're-
really what it's all about. Okay, so adults can't make choices. I agree with that. Not really. So what are you trying to do? What you try to do is you try to acknowledge that, and then you create the best environment you can to empower people to make the best decisions they can. That's it. That's the goal.
There's nothing wrong with that argument, but it still comes down to they still have that choice to make.
Yeah, sure, but
Yes,
we don't. We want to understand the types of, like, for instance, like, why are there so many poor people in the U.S.? Because they all choose not to go to college. They choose to be fucking stupid. They choose to work shitty jobs. I mean, that's one way you could look at it.
Yeah, there's a lot of different reasons for it. Yeah, we can even
but
have that
that's
debate,
the
but
important thing.
That's not the point. They can take the initiative. Like that's the
No,
thing.
but not everybody
People
can have
have
the same way. This is
Oh
why
my
we don't
God.
use the choice thing, because it leads to people
Wes,
saying
you
things
wanna
like,
go laugh about privilege and shit like that. At the end of the day, like I said, if somebody have an initiative, they want to do drugs, they're gonna fucking do drugs. If they want to make a choice to go out with the professor, they're gonna make that choice, right?
But that's not true.
You're
Not
ignoring
everybody-
external
but
factors.
That's not true. Like, there's a reason why fucking like rich kids don't fucking wind up in bathrooms using fucking crack or like sucking dick for this shit, right? So it's generally poor people,
Well,
and it's
go
not
talk to
because poor
Biden
people.
then.
I mean,
Okay.
some
people
In
really-
general, we know that poor
Of
people
course.
are more susceptible to unhealthy drug use than wealthy people, right? It's not because poor people have like dumb brains and rich people were born with God's gift to the earth brains. It's because rich people generally have other decisions that they can make. Not all these choices are weighted equally, is the point.
Of course, it's not weighted equally. I've never argued that. The problem is, or the question is there a choice or should there be a choice? And it's hypocritical to say it's okay to make a choice in this situation and not in this one. Like, of course, there are variables. You can't argue the variables.
Sure,
but it's a little hypocritical to stay one way or the other.
It's not. As soon as we acknowledge that not all choices are equal, then we get into the point, well, we probably shouldn't hold people responsible then for making like the same choice as somebody else if they're in a totally different environment, right? So for instance, like if somebody steals bread from a store to feed their family, we should probably treat that a little differently than like a rich person stealing bread from the store because they just want to fucking steal, right? Like people are in different circumstances. As soon as we acknowledge that not all choices are equal, then we can say, well, there's different responsibility for different choices or different likelihoods of people making different choices, right? This is all I'm trying to get at.
So yeah, Gainz, sorry, is your argument then that people that find themselves in like bad situations, like if they're homeless or if they're drug addicted or whatever, they just made bad choices?
I just think it's hypocritical to be like, oh, well, it's okay for everybody to do drugs in their own house if they choose to do that, regardless of whether it's going to kill them or not. But yet you're telling me that it's not okay that they can make a decision on whether to go to their professor or not. Like, again, it's bullshit. It's hypocritical to say that.
So the difference is that in one case, it's your choice to do a drug or not. That's on you. There's not another person like influencing you to do it. Now, if we were to talk about a relationship with another person, well, now we've got a person that could be taking advantage of you. A drug can't take advantage of you. A drug can't make decisions. If you wanted to make this more comparable, the comparison would be, should a person be allowed to offer to sell you drugs like in person like that? That would be like the comparison. And we would probably be consistent there. We'd say, no, it's probably not okay for a 50-year-old to walk up to like an 18-year-old and be like, hey, do you want to buy some drugs or whatever? At like a fucking college campus or whatever.
I don't think age matters in this focus.
It doesn't.
Age absolutely matters.
So wait, Destiny, why would you view the 50-year-old trying to sell drugs to an 18-year-old any different than an 18-year-old trying to sell drugs to a 50-year-old?
Okay, wait, hold on. Fuck.
Just flip it.
Yeah, sorry. Maybe I'm sorry. I shouldn't have used 18-year-old. I meant to do like major and like a minor. So not major, minor, but majority minor.
So
like we would allow like an
influence
adult
over
to
the
sell drugs
others.
to a kid. Yeah, I don't know why my brain went to 18.
I see what you're saying.
But because we would tell like the kid doesn't have the ability to choose. A 55-year-old should be able to sell to an 18-year-old because we should say like arguably at 18 you should know whether.
Yeah, but what's the negative effect if they say no? You think a professor's like in this scenario, the professor's selling drugs to the student. If the student says no, they're probably going to have issues in the class. Like,
the reason why propositions shouldn't be made from people with power over you is because you don't know if they're going to exercise some punishment over you for a refusal to engage with them.
Sure, but I just don't think it really fits well in the whole drug selling.
Well, that's because professors don't normally offer drugs. They usually offer sex to their female students.
All right, here we go again. It's the showdown that nobody asked for. Round 2 between Minx and Destiny.
I want to talk about people that message their friends to not have certain topics on shows. That's my final topic, Raj. Can we and Minx have a discussion about this?
I got a topic. Hold on. It is relevant to what you say. No, I had the question. It was exactly what you just described.
Was it?
Yes. Hold on. Should streamers be expected to hold their streamer friends accountable for their actions?
Hey, man, that's a good-ass topic. What do you think about that one,
without specifically, would you mind at least in my...
yeah,
without specifically going into...
Can you put me in a scenario?
The more broader
Minx, do you
topic,
think that,
should
like-
streamers be expected to hold their streamers' friends accountable for their actions?
Yeah. What do you think about that one, Minx?
Well, obviously not, because you're not that fucking person. Like, if I have a friend on stream and they say some dumb shit that I don't agree with, and it's horrible, well then fuck that person. No, I don't agree. Why would I be held accountable?
Okay, here's the question, Minx. Let's say that you hosted a show, theoretically. Say you have like a podcast or whatever, and you've
Are
got
you
a
talking
friend
about
that
Raj?
does... No, what the fuck? This
Sorry.
is not specific. It's just
Destiny, this is so specific. Come on, can't you just talk it more broadly? I mean, I gave you the topic.
Okay, you're right. Okay.
I gave you the topic. Come on, you can
Let's say you're just
level
streaming,
with me.
and you're talking to some friends.
Oh, come on, you can't do it. You can't do it, can you?
You're streaming. You're talking to some friends, and then they want to talk about, hey, didn't person X do some kind of dumb shit? And let's say, do you think that you should have an obligation to be like, well, hold on, we shouldn't talk about person X. That guy's my friend. I don't want to say anything mean about him, even if he did do some
What
dumb
about
shit.
has this happened
No,
before?
then you're a little bitch.
Fucking true. That's some goddamn true shit. I'm voting for Minx in the finals. Amen, Minx. Hell yeah.
Wait, is this about Raj? Because he's getting a bit insecure.
I mean, trying to make it about Raj. It's not
because
about
Raj is trying to direct the topic away, and now I'm confused.
No, I brought up the topic.
Bitch.
What are you talking about, Minx? I brought the topic up. I worded it. Should streamers be expected to hold their streamer friends accountable for their actions? That was the topic.
Raj, I sense that you're being a little bitch.
How am I being a bitch? I just gave the topic. Do you have anything to say to the voters at all, Destiny?
I've said my piece.
Okay.
I got a lot to say, Raj, but I don't think I'm allowed to talk about it right now. So, but you know what? We're going to talk after on twitch.tv/Destiny, so I can't wait for it, Raj.
It's very close. Keep voting. You think it's bots? Press 1 if you think it's bots, and we need to go to Twitter.
No, Hasan's chat is literally posting the poll in his chat.
Every time.
Holy shit. He's
Every
so
time.
mad.
Before we go, would you guys like a Twitter poll just as well to confirm, or do you care?
Nah, Hasan will probably link that in his chat too. I'm good at whatever this poll is.
We have established, though, prior that it's impossible to regulate. Like, I'm gonna...
No, it is.
Yeah,
That's
so
true.
I don't really know
I
what
think
to
it's
do.
kind of weird that somebody that's not even on the show is so
bitch!
invested in the outcome. That's pretty strange to me.
Well, I call
I'm glad we didn't get to
favoritism.
talk to him today. I'm glad we
I
got to
call
protect his
favoritism.
reputation. Glad that we got to, protect his fragile ego. That makes me happy. I'm always down to help a friend out.
The winner of the Rajj Royale podcast is, with 51% of the vote, is Minx! Congratulations! Destiny, I will call you in a second. Thank you.
Minx,
Destiny, thank you. Minx, thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it.
So I'm here on a show and I can't talk about a guy that's literally like spam posting the poll in the finals to get me to lose, right? I can't even talk about him.